Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Alon Orbach, Head of Investment Group with a $150 million portfolio in real estate. So welcome, Alon. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Nice.
So, about myself, I basically moved here from Israel 18 years ago, quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school here. I studied economics in FIU, Florida. And I moved here actually due to playing volleyball.
Okay.
I was supposed to play in New York, and I ended up in Florida. And I always wanted to be in the United States. I always kind of had the dream,
Yeah.
and I wanted to see how it is. And from going to school here, I got into, right after I finished, I got into property management. I managed about roughly 300 units, give or take, in Florida. And then I saw that I'm kind of reaching a limit. Like, I cannot really manage more. And it wasn't really the dream why I moved here. I always dream big. And I wanted to really expand and reach my limit, like push me to the limit.
Nice.
So I moved to LA, actually. I was there for a year and a half. I had businesses, I had coffee shops. And I decided to move back here for real estate. I did, again, property management, but at this time I also did flips. I did renovations. I did the real estate side of it, be a realtor. And I saw that the market is shifting to a point that it's really hard for us to keep finding good properties for long-term investors. And I'm always thinking like, okay, but there are investors, they are investing. So what's the best solution for that? And that's how I got pretty much into the vacation rental segment, which is what we're focusing on in the last 6-7 years. And that's 95% of my time right now.
Okay, nice. Well, I was going to ask you too, you kind of mentioned a little bit about your journey from owning coffee shops in LA. So what initially drew you to real estate investments and how'd that transition happen?
So I always knew that I wanted to do real estate. Even in Israel, I had 3 jobs. I worked from 5 in the morning until sometimes midnight. And I mean, I had a break in the middle.
Like, that's dedication.
But I worked a lot. Like, I always pushed myself. I worked a lot and I liked it. I worked 3 different jobs. I was a personal trainer. I was working in the stock market. And I did promotions for clubs. So it was like
jack of all trades.
Yes.
Wow.
And I always knew that I wanted to do real estate. Both of my uncles were in real estate, from construction point of view, renovations point of view. My dad was in this field as well. And now my cousin is like, we're all like into be like hands-on, like handymans, and also the real estate side of it.
Okay.
And I always thought that, I want to try United States basically. And when I came here, I was always thinking what will lead me to be in real estate and the path that will take me there. And I kind of planned it in a way that I'll reach where I'm today. And I still have 7 years goal from now.
Wow.
Always thinking forward.
Dreaming big. Good thing. Now, you mentioned with the vacation rentals. So vacation rental market, it's evolved dramatically in recent years. So like, what are some of the biggest changes that you've observed in the industry, and how has your firm adapted to the shifts?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a lot of changes. So when we started, Airbnb was very like, people that owns homes, they're traveling to another country and they want to rent their place for like a week, 2 weeks. They put it on a platform, they rent it out. It wasn't really a business. It was more for like people are they're not here, they're gonna make a few bucks and also not have expenses when they're traveling. And when it started to become a business, so you saw, besides investors, you saw companies that are dedicated for Airbnb. And then when it really started growing up, you start seeing the cities are saying, okay, we have now, like, in a residential area, businesses in our city. And, the people who live there are complaining, the residents, the neighbors. So how can we fight it in a way that it's still legal? So Florida is very for Airbnb. There are rules that you cannot change right now to completely cancel Airbnb, but cities for sure can find rules that you have to go by their guidance. Meaning, for example, you cannot have more than 7 rooms in a house, or you cannot rent it to one family. Some areas you cannot rent, and they cancel it like way well in advance, so it's not going to change. There are a lot of rules. So as a company that really that's what we do, we have to be on top of it all the time to make sure that we know all the rules in each city. And also, because every year, once you have a license, you have to renew the license. So we always need to adjust um our sorry, we always we always need to adjust the annual inspections that the city are doing. And for example, I can tell you that we have in city of Hollywood, Florida, we have a lot of homes, and the city, after probably 4 or 5 years, they start using an outside company to manage that side of vacation rental. And that company that came, they have not crazy, like, if they had it in advance, but now it sounds like crazy rules that they want to go by. And also they're checking for um, so for example, let's say you bought a house as is, you have it for 4 years as a business for Airbnb, everything was fine. These companies start coming, you have to renew your license, you have a new inspection, and all of a sudden they come and they're like, was this done with permit? And you're like, well, we bought it like that, we been using it for 4 or 5 years. And now they come like 4 or 5 years after, and they're telling you, well, we don't see a permit in the city records. Now, that's why I'm saying, if initially the city was like that, I feel like it's okay. But all of a sudden, when you already have the house, you already have a business, and all of a sudden you need to deal with like re-renovation and re-permitting. So it really depends what city, and always how to adjust. That's like kind of like when you're asking me how the market shift, in that field. But it's also now the competition. So I always, from some reason, compare it to the Bitcoin rush when, Bitcoin started and very few people bought Bitcoin. And then it started growing, and all of a sudden every person was an investor. So it's the same for like vacation rental, because now in Hollywood, for example, we were one of the first companies that were in Hollywood as a company. And when we had probably 20 homes in a very small area, and more people start buying homes there. So first of all, a lot of the people who bought, they're not really professional in that field. They kind of thought it's an easy way to make money, which it's perfectly fine. But the problem is that it's not that easy. So then the market becomes saturated with some people that do it as a business, some people do it as a side hustle, some people don't know how to do it, and all of a sudden all in the same area, and you're like, okay, what am I doing now? That's why us as a company, we said that the next step will be to do the luxury homes, and we're adding amenities to them. We're doing kind of like an all-inclusive resort style that we have, and I can show examples. They're really nice homes. We have like volleyball court, basketball court, soccer field, mini golf, movie theater. Depends which home, but some have movie theater, pool tables, foosball. We have a lot of stuff
Wow.
to make people really go to a house, enjoy it as a vacation. And that's also what brings us that it doesn't have to be in the most touristic area, because people just want to stay in the house and they're like, okay, if we want to go to the beach, we'll drive 20 minutes.
Right.
That was a big risk that we took, by the way, because when we started this is not a small investment. You're talking about probably a $2 million investment. That is a risk. It's a calculated risk, because when we started, we made sure that we're buying under market value. The worst case, it's not going to work. We can sell it at a profit, at least break even. Gladly, it worked. And that really isolated most of the competition for us, because not a lot of people can do it. Not a lot of people want to do it. It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of, right now we have like in-house people that already do everything. But for someone to just come and start planning an outdoor amenitized single family, it's like probably at least $300,000, let's say, just the outdoor.
Right.
So not most people just want to buy a house, have a pool, and add some stuff, and that's it. But we got to that because of the changes. Because if not, we will still buy homes that are around the 500,000, 700,000, and be very happy with it.
Yeah. No, it's good that you're thinking outside the box, because I do know a lot of people that travel on vacation, and, it's nice to go to other places, but if they're there for 7 to 10 days, sometimes they just want to relax, and having everything right there, that's like golden opportunity right there. But now you manage over 500 properties, and that's no small feat. So like, what are some of the key strategies that you use to efficiently manage, such a large vacation rental portfolio and ensure profitability?
So one of the main thing was, and that's not mine, but the owner of the company, he has also a software that him and his brother actually started. It's called Boom now. Right now it's called Boom now. Before, it was the same name. It was DesignedVR. So under the DesignedVR management and brokerage, we also had a software that we were the only ones who used it. That software right now became a separate entity, and it's a whole business, and it's a big startup, and they're using it right now all over the world. But we were kind of like the guinea pig that tried everything until it became solid. But that software is really helping us to manage everything, and it's usually only for companies that have over like 30 properties, because less than that, it doesn't make much sense. But the software is pretty much showing you everything for a given home, from and again, it's hard to maybe imagine it. I can show it, but when you click on it, so you can see the calendar, you can see each reservation, where is it coming from. You can see that a lot of companies has it, but we also have our own in-house money algorithm. So basically, how to adjust the pricing for a daily rate. And the more important thing is that we have all the P&L in the software, which is why it's making it so unique. So right now, every expense that we have, if someone, for example, need to take care of the AC, we have a picture before, after, how many hours he was there, what parts did he buy. We add receipts, and there is a picture of before, after. And for the end user, so people that use our software that we manage for, they just come, they click, they're like, okay, what is this 500 expense? They see a receipt. If we're paying to the city for a renewal for a license, they see the receipt, the water bill, the electric bill, everything. So it's making it very easy to follow through, but you have to be hands-on to put all the information there, right? This company actually became, right when AI started, became based on AI. It's AI based. And right now, it's the only company that is a property manager software AI based. And the AI is also saving us a lot of time, because we have an auto-generating, for example, if right now you want to book and you contact us, the AI will already know if they discount.
Okay.
It will tell you, basically, it will make all the conversation with you in order to book it. It does reach a point and then it can go to the next person in line if needed. But that's just for the reservation part. Also, when you're in the house and you have a question, so the AI will answer you and send you a video of the reply. So, for example, you say, I don't know how to change the temperature in the thermostat,
Right.
and you write it in the chat. Right away, you're going to get a very quick response with a video showing you how to adjust the thermostat. If you have question about the area, for example, if you want to go to a nice restaurant and you don't know the area, so the AI will reply to that as well. And it's basically saving a lot of time, because if you're sending a message, we do have 24/7 guest communication
Mhm.
that are real people.
Right.
But still, if you're sending a message, let's say 11 p.m., and you get an answer within like 30 seconds, it's much better.
Yeah,
On
for
top
sure.
of it, it can open a service call. So let's say you are coming and from some reason there is a cockroach in your house, which happens sometimes. Some people don't know it, but it happens.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna write, oh my God, there is a roach in my house that I just got here, so it will actually open a service call and it will tell the property manager to contact you, and it will send someone to take care of it. So so that's basically how we can manage so many properties. And we do have for each area a dedicated property manager. Each property manager is usually managing like 5 to 8 homes.
Okay.
And that's it, to make sure that we have the best service. Every time there is a check-in, check-out, he's going there or she's going there to check that everything is fine. That's another thing, by the way, that people were asking me about, the difference between like being professional or not. If right now is someone doing it as a side hustle and you have a checkout's usually at 11 a.m. You very likely will, hopefully, if the property is good, you will have a check-in the same day. Check-ins are at 4. So as a side hustle, it's very hard to find cleaners that will come right on time at 11 to make sure the house is clean. Plus, if there is something that is broken, and it does happen, if a chair is broken, a table is broken, it doesn't really matter what is broken, but something can be broken. There can be a leak all of a sudden that we find out, or the AC is not cooling properly. You have to take care of it before 4 p.m. reservation. And that's making it very difficult nowadays, because the people that are renting, and we'll go back to how it started Airbnb, that it started kind of like, okay, I'm going on a vacation, I'm going to rent my place. The people that usually came to your place didn't really have high demands.
Yeah.
It was just like, thank you so much for renting your place. We are enjoying it. And now people are coming and they're expecting 5-star,
Right.
hotel experience, even if you're not a 5-star luxury property. I'm talking about like, even if you're a mediocre home, I'm not saying you can still have a good service, but the house is not like a luxury house. People will expect to get everything perfect. Right away, they're going to get complaints, and they're going to want discounts. And if you're through Airbnb, most likely you will need to give them a discount in order to get a decent review, because the reviews are what making you nowadays be more advanced or pop up.
Right.
And it's really hard to have a good track home if your reviews are even 4.7. It's not considered like that great out of 5, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy with the reviews, because I did, there's something else where like I had 5-star reviews across the board, but it was like a 4.7 average. And I contacted them and I'm like, what's up with that? Every single one was a 5-star. They go by like algorithms. And I'm like, that's not even fair. Every single review is 5 stars. So I get it though, but the reviews are super important. And I know, like, inputting everything into this program, it could be time consuming, but at the end of the day, it's saving so much time and energy on everything in the very end. I mean, I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's a pretty sharp thing. Yeah.
it really does.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Yeah. Now tell us, when evaluating new rental properties for your portfolio, what are the most important factors that you consider, and how do you predict long-term success?
So this relates to the fact of how we transition to the luxury homes. So I will focus a little bit more on those. I can focus on everything, but it's going to take a long time.
Right.
But nowadays, so the luxury properties, first of all, and that's a must for us, we don't buy a house with an association. Some associations allow Airbnb, but we don't want to take the smallest chance that they will change their regulations because the neighbors complain. So we don't buy with an association. Secondly, we are looking for properties that are about acre lots. And that's because we want to add all the amenities. The house needs to be usually between 4,000 to 5,000 square foot living space without the garage. That's not a must, but that's, then it becomes to like, depends on other factors, but usually that's what we're looking for. Now, most homes for people who just live in a regular house, because we're buying from regular people, right? Not from a business.
Right.
And if we're getting to a house that people live there, usually it's like 4 or 5 bedrooms. And as a business that invests like $2 million in a house with a 4,000 to 5,000 square foot and an acre, you need to have a bigger, a more amount of bedrooms in order to make sense out of it. So usually we need like about 7 bedrooms.
Okay.
If we have 8, it's great. If we have 6, it depends on the price. So let's say 6 to 8. And then it comes to, how do we look at adding a room? Because when you have the square foot, it might be very easy to just do like drywall and add a room. But then there is the bathroom count. If you have, like, for example, so you have one master, so that's like a bathroom in the master. And then usually you have like a Jack and Jill, so that's like another bathroom. And then you have another one. So if you have 6, you don't want like 3 or 4 bedrooms to use the same bathroom. So then we see how to add a bathroom as well, to make like 4 bathrooms usually. And that's actually, and now I'm going to say it, it's something that we actually found out later on that we're more focusing on right now, is to make it a very good flow and to think about the resale. Because what happened in some homes at the very beginning that we bought, we added like so many rooms, and then when people come, they're like, but we don't have a huge closet, or this room is small, or this doesn't have a window, or I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit now, but it really made it to a point that now we're really thinking about the resale value, if we want to add a room there, or we want to really completely remodify the whole like layout of the house and how to approach it. That's more about the experience, like, of where to do what. But that's how we really approach a house. Now, another very important thing is to see if you have comps in the area. Now, because not many people do what we do, it's very hard to find comps. It's almost impossible to find comparables to a similar home. If there is a very similar home that makes good numbers, we're very happy. We're not afraid of like the competition. It's just gonna add. But so the way that we're looking at is if you have not regular, like if you have very nice homes, but without the amenities and all those stuff, that are having good occupancy rate, and also their ADR, their average daily rate, is pretty good, then it means that most likely when we will add all the amenities, it will do better, or at least as good. And that's something that is very important when you're getting into a new area. Right now, we're going to, hopefully, we're working on it, get into Texas. And you don't have a lot of we want to kind of like take the same thing that we're doing here with the amenities and everything and just copy paste it. You don't have a lot of homes there, if any. They're really like in all Texas. I saw a few, and Texas is huge. That does like really the same thing. So obviously, if we're gonna get into a new area, we cannot really find like comparables. So what we will do is see if other homes are working well in the area, if the occupancy is good, and then again we'll take the first calculated risk in a way to buy something in a very good price for the market. It might means that we need to offer on 10 different homes and pick one, and then we're going to say that it most likely will work because other homes are working well. This will probably add at least, let's say the amenities, at least $100-$200 a night because of it. And it's enough information to go forward with a new area.
Well, it's good that you're learning it. It's not good at the time, but the trial and error and learning by what you're doing, what works, what doesn't work. And it is true about going from location to location, because like I'm in New York, there's just nothing but homes. There's just an abundance of homes, but it's also different price ranges, and every place you go, like Pennsylvania, is a lot of, land, but not a lot of homes. But even then, the economy is a little different. So, this is all stuff that I'm sure, are working through, but you see that from location to location. But I like how you're learning like through trial and error, and probably other people will use your experience so that they don't have to go through it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to for sure. And it's really, it's getting to a new area and you start deciding if I want this city or that city, or which is where. By the way, I had a podcast with a guy from Mississippi. I never really looked into Mississippi,
Right.
and he's really trying to get into the real estate world.
Right.
And I told him, you know what? Let's do kind of like a live webinar.
Yeah.
Tell me where you live. He told me his location. He told me how much houses pretty much cost. Right away, I found out that there are at least 2 or 3 homes in his area that are doing very well on Airbnb. I did kind of like a rough analysis.
Right.
We're very on top of the numbers with our analysis. Like I really know if a house will make 7% or 11%. And I told him that if I would live there, it's not enough for me to start buying properties in Mississippi,
Right.
but you're living in an area that you can probably make 17% on investment.
Wow.
It's very hard to find now. In Florida, you cannot find 17% right now on Airbnb. And then he started asking me, okay, but how do I start? How do I get the loan? And it became like a live webinar of like how to really start buying your first property.
Right.
And it's exciting, when you find a new place.
Oh, you see, you can have partners now. What is it, like a little franchise going on?
Well, we do. So by the way, the way that we're working with our software is that we're looking into, so right now people all over the world using our software, and that gives us enormous amount of information on each place in the world. What are people doing on vacation rentals? So I know in Greece, I know in Portugal, I know in Spain, I know in Israel, I know in different states in the United States, in Africa, and we have more countries. But I know each place, like, okay, how much money they're making on their investment. And we're not here to start opening our own branch in each place. We're
Right.
going to go to those people, use our services, and tell them, listen, we want to grow. We will bring the funds, and basically, we would like you to manage it for us. So we're not there yet, but that's pretty much because I told you we have very long,
Goals.
yeah, long-term goals. So that's a part of it. That's like
Wow.
what we are looking to do. And me personally, right now, I'm about to close on a hotel in Zanzibar in Africa.
Wow.
I worked on it for a very long time. So we're not just going and spending money.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of due diligence. We're doing a lot of homework. We're flying to the locations, and we're really checking everything as much as we can.
Right.
And I think that's why we're doing pretty well as well, because we're really good, doing a very good service. You know, one of my partner, not in this, but other real estate businesses,
Right.
literally yesterday, and he's doing a lot of um he's doing a lot of different projects in real estate. He's very successful. And he told me, you know, I'm looking where to spend my money in a way. Like I want to buy more real estate, but it's very hard to find. And he told me I found online um, someone that talks about top producers in Texas,
Mhm.
and I'm calling them, and they're just keep talking about, yeah, we can find you the place, and we're charging like 3% commission, whatever it is. He's like, okay, but I mean, I'm not in Texas. Like, I want a
Yeah.
full service. I want someone to find a place, to manage it, to renovate, to sell it. And they're like, no, we're just doing this part. And they're considered like top producers.
Mhm.
And for us, it's really like doing the A to Z,
Right.
and to be able to do it. And that's kind of like where I think it's you see the differences between different companies.
Well, that's what'll make you stand out more, because it is true. Most people, they just want to do a piece of the pie, but you need somebody
Right.
to do the whole package. Yeah.
Yeah. People
Now
are
tell
lazy.
us. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now, with the economic fluctuations and changes in the tourism patterns, how do you mitigate risk and protect your portfolio against downturns or unpredictable market conditions?
So in Florida, one of the unpredictable market conditions will be weather. This is a big deal right now. Tampa, we have quite a few properties, and the storm passed by. Not many properties got damaged, but at least two of them. So we're having a really good insurance. That's a really big thing, that insurance in Florida went up insanely. Like
I can imagine.
you're just for wind, you're paying about, probably, I'm talking about like the $2 million properties. You're paying about $30,000 a year just for wind.
Ridiculous.
Now, what really happens with the storms? You don't really have as much as a storm is a wind. You don't really have a wind damage. The damage comes from the floods.
Mhm.
And if you don't have a flood insurance, you're not protected. So you can have a wind that pays like 30,000 a year, plus you have the wind, you have the hazard. I mean, you have different aspects of the insurance. But if you're not really protected, and not necessarily you can be in a flood zone. Like some of the homes that got damaged, they're not in a flood zone.
Mhm.
I have a very good friend of mine, again, another business partner, that he has multifamilies in Tampa. One of his multifamilies got damaged in the storm, and he told me that he has no flood insurance.
Mhm.
So everything goes from his pocket, and it's a lot of money. So the way we protect from that end, at least from the storms and the weather, is to have a really good insurance. And when you're talking about the actual economic cycle, so the prices now are pretty high. You felt like they were much higher like 2 years ago, and you also see a lot of people that bought at the peak, and now they're trying to sell, and they don't want to lose money, so they're putting their house pretty much for the same price, but nobody's buying it. But the market, but it's not like the market crashed or anything. It's just that it was really at a high peak. A lot of people are still waiting with the interest rates to go down. They feel now with the elections, it's probably going to go down. So you feel like the market is pretty much, it's pretty slow right now. So from us, as people are buying, we're having a very lengthy negotiation on each home. It can be literally 3 months negotiation
Wow.
just to get into a contract. And we're doing it, first of all, because some of the prices are really high and they just don't make sense. And secondly, because we want to protect our investors and ourselves, to make sure that we're buying the house at the correct price. I can tell you that until today, 95, I think, percent of all the homes that we ever purchased were really purchased at the right price. And the 5% that are maybe off, it was when the market really was crazy and people were throwing offers on right and left, and but I think that it's a pretty good 95, to have
That's pretty
95%.
good though.
And so that's something we do, like the lengthy negotiation, and we're doing really in-depth inspection when we get a house. So most people would just hire an inspection company, pay them like $600-700, and that's it. We're adding on top of it a roof inspection. We're doing a sewer camera. Most of the acre lots are on a septic tank. They're not connected to the city. So we're also doing a separate septic tank inspection. We're doing a pool inspection, but now we're also doing a leak detection inspection to the pool. And you'll be in shocked how many pools have leaks that
Yeah.
you never knew about. And all this is because of experience, because before we didn't do it. We just pay a regular inspection, and step by step you see that after 1 year you start having issues with septic. You need to remember that we have a lot of like we have a lot of people using our properties on a regular basis, a lot of people each day. So the septic sometimes become like not becoming overflow, but there is a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that it's in a very good condition, because if it's get backed up, then again people complain right away. You're losing money.
Right.
So you have to do all those inspections on pool inspections if they're leaking. We have a pool heater on each property. So if the water is all the time warm, and with the weather here, plus if you have a small leak, you might end up filling up the pool all the time. It's a lot of money on the water. So all the things we're doing to protect basically our investors. I think the most important thing at the end will be to really do the proper negotiation, and not just say, you know what, okay, we need to just bring another home. It's very easy for us because we have funds, so we can just say, okay, you know what, we have to bring another house because we need to make money, but we're not doing it. We're usually buying 2 to 3 houses a month, but there were periods that we didn't buy anything because either we wanted to wait for the interest, we wanted to wait to see where the market is heading. We started negotiations and didn't just want to pull the plug and say, okay, let's close on them, let's wait. In the long run, we feel it's working better.
It's funny when you mention with insurance too, because like my sister lives in New Jersey. We don't really get floods, but it happened to be Hurricane Sandy. She didn't have flood insurance. So they're like, oh, well. And she's like, but, and then I don't know how true this is, but I saw somebody posted something different, say with insurance. It reminded me what you said with the winds. He said, you never ever tell the insurance that you have a flood damage. I forget how he worded it. It was like water distributed by massive wind. He said, you'll be covered for that. He says, but if you mention flood insurance, don't ever use the word flood. I'm like, interesting.
So it's interesting, but it's not true. I know what exactly that person was referring to. So for example, if your window is broken because of the wind and a lot of water comes through that window, then you will be covered with the wind insurance.
Okay.
The problem is that, if you have a leak from the bathroom on the second floor and it's going to the first floor and your whole kitchen is becoming damaged and you want to claim for the kitchen, the insurance companies are not stupid.
Yeah.
They will not just give you a $200,000 check if you will say, oh no, it's from the window in that room over there and it came all the way to the kitchen. Plus in Florida right now, they're being extra careful. It's much harder they're really tightening everything up, and they're doing much more inspections. So you can still get money, but But by the way, I have a funny story. So we're also a brokerage, right? So we're buying and selling for the regular consumer. And I have a house in Hollywood that I tried to sell it for a very long time, very hard sell. Finally got the contract, pass inspection. The people were from New York. They already flew back. After they did the inspection, but still during due diligence period. So let's say they have like 10 days due diligence. They did the inspection 3 days after. So 7 more days left. Um, they end up having like 5 more days or so. There was a heavy rain, super heavy rain. It wasn't considered a storm, but it's a super heavy rain. Everything got flooded. The whole street got flooded. Not all Hollywood, specifically that street and another street got flooded.
Wow.
And the realtor, the buyer's agent, is calling me and say, "Hey, what's going on in the house?" Now, I knew that the house got flooded, but I didn't know the damages. So I didn't just want to freak them out. I said, "Let me check." I had to wait a day for the water to at least get to a point that I can actually go to the house to check it.
Right.
And the house was really damaged badly. So what I told them is that I'm willing, I mean, I'm the broker, but basically the seller is willing to renovate you're not buying a renovated house. He's going to renovate the whole house before closing, basically change all the drywall, change the floor, change some of the doors, the kitchen panel, like a lot of stuff you're gonna get new. In the bathrooms, you're gonna get two vanities, everything. And they signed an agreement that they're moving forward with that. And basically, the due diligence period ended. And then a couple days after, he's calling me like, "Listen, they changed their mind. They're freaking out now with the now." When you're buying it as an investment, it's actually pretty good to be in a flood zone because you're making money from the insurance, and every few years you're going to renovate your home.
Yeah, there you
If
go.
you live there, even though you're not going to maybe lose money if you have an insurance because they will pay for you for relocations, but the headache is enormous because your furniture and belongings will be destroyed, and then you have to relocate until you renovate. And I understand the reasons why not to buy, but that's a part of living in Florida. And by the way, for us, from right now, from a company that is looking into a new property, it really depends on the weather and the months of the year that you even know if your property will be flooded or not. Because a lot of properties are in a flood zones, they don't get flooded. We had a house, we closed a contract, acre lot in Tampa. After we closed the contract, we brought the whole team from Miami there. Like 7 people drove to Tampa. And it was after a rainy day, not a storm, not super crazy rain, just nonstop rain the day prior. The whole lot was flooded, and it was a detached garage. So the garage was a little bit lower from the house. The whole garage was flooded. And I'm like, thank God we actually closed the contract on this week, because if you come a week after, you will never know about it.
Yeah.
They will never tell you it got flooded, even
Right.
though they need to. They're not going to tell you.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's
you
a lot of stories in Florida that, people from, for example, from New York, if you don't have that experience with
Yeah.
floods, you will not think, you will just see a nice house and say, okay, I want to buy it.
Yeah, that's why it's good that, you have someone on the ground there, because most realtors aren't going to tell you what goes on. They just want to make a commission. So yeah, it's good that you're on both sides. So you're you're telling people exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we work, so every property that I go, so I'm the only one who goes to all the properties. And
Lucky you.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping in the future that other people will do it as well. But when I go to the properties, I take very detailed videos of presenting the property. I'm 100% not doing it in a biased way. So I'm really showing all the good and the bad in the house. I think that's one of the most important things, to be transparent with your clients, because if you have a client that wants to buy a $2 million house, for example, there is no reason to be biased toward one house, because he will end up buying a house, right? So no matter what, he will buy a house. You want him as your client to buy the best house for him. So I'm really mentioning in the video the good and the bad, the way I present it. So later on, we can actually go back and decide, okay, that's where we want to renovate. That's where, because a lot of the houses I go to, we don't have the team right there. It can be like 5-hour drive, soon maybe a flight apart. So it's very important to be very transparent and very detail oriented in the video, showing the good and the bad. Because if I will only show the good for sale purposes, and later on for ourselves, we want to know in the company, oh, what were the stuff that we want to change? I wouldn't remember because I see so many houses.
Yeah.
So it's important to do it this way. And it's funny because later on, we tried actually to use different people to go see properties. And it doesn't matter how much I tell them how to take the video, they will not do it the same. And you know how it is, that if you don't do it yourself, it just you need to do things yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even properties that I'm selling, and I see other realtors do remote showings for their client, and they're telling me, okay, I'm going to make a video for them, and I making the video like this. And I'm like, you have to do this. Not only you have to do this, you have to click the wide angle.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, your client will not understand anything. And that small thing can make it or break it to sell a house
Right.
for them,
Yeah.
not for me. and it's a small thing about taking videos, but it's everything experience. I mean, I took hundreds of videos to get to that point, and now it just feels automatically.
You do it in your sleep now. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that. I really enjoy it, and I think that another side to everything with the market and everything, you have to really do what you're enjoying.
Yeah.
And you love.
Yeah. No, it definitely shows. I mean, and it's true that you want to do it right, because you never know who they're going to recommend you to somebody else, or maybe they're done with that. They'll want you to sell it and help them get another one. But if you did a bad job the first time, your reputation is just ruined. So that's good that you're doing it.
I have clients, they bought a house from me on the water
Right.
about, I think it was like 6 months ago already. And they're still texting me here and there about questions.
Oh my God. They sometimes good and bad.
but I'm okay with that, because first of all, they're nice about it. It's not that they're complaining. It's really stuff that comes up and they want to know. And I'm like, if the service that someone is giving doesn't end on the sales day. Service is like 24/7 later, after the fact also, I feel.
Yeah. That's good. So it's funny because when I bought my first house, like even after, normally the realtor, you never hear from them again. And it was like maybe 2 weeks after they sent me like a fruit basket and just checking in. And I'm like, well, that just said, that really made me feel like loved. I was like, wow. So she didn't
make you feel like buy another house.
Yeah. Well, but yeah. Now tell us, what advice would you give to someone looking to break into the vacation rental or real estate investment space today? And are there any common mistakes that you see new investors making?
Wow, mistakes. So many mistakes. I'll start from the mistakes. And I'll tell you the most basic stuff. So a lot of the investments, it's not really necessary to buy the house. Some people, they do rent and then they sublease it. I have a lot of properties that we're also putting on a month-to-month basis and on the market. And I have so many people that are reaching out to me and they're telling me right away, without seeing the property, I want to rent it for a full year. Are you willing to do sublease for Airbnb? My response is, I don't care to do Airbnb. You can do whatever you want with your property once you rent it. But I'm telling you that you will lose a lot of money if you're going to rent from me. And I'm telling them because what's going to happen if I'm not going to tell them my opinion, they're going to rent it out. And 2 months after, they're going to want to break the lease because they're losing money and it's a headache in court. So I'm trying to avoid all those stuff, especially when, again, we don't really have to rent it. But a lot of people with zero experience, they hear videos on YouTube about renting and then sublease it and stuff like that. Easy money, Airbnb, you can have a 1,500 from each home. You get a few homes, you get to 10,000. So many videos like that. And I'm like, it might be true, but if you never done it before, you have to know what to do. Now, I have a friend that reached out to me that he's thinking about doing it, and he's asking me for my opinion. And I told him, listen, you have a full-time job. You cannot just do it as a side hustle and expect to make money, especially when you don't know anything about the vacation rental market. What about the furniture you need to buy? It's expensive. You cannot just buy IKEA. IKEA is not that cheap now, but you cannot just buy it and that's it. You have to buy like sturdy um, furniture that will not break right away and that will feel comfortable for the people. Only that will take you a year to make that money back. And then let's say the next year you're starting to make money, but then who's going to be in charge on cleaning, on repairing? What platforms are you going to put it? What pricing? So I tell most people, even if you're finding another location, go to a company that knows what they're doing. Ask them to manage it. Make zero money for the first year, but learn. Like, see exactly what they do. Follow them, shadow them, see how to do it. Once you feel that it's something you can finally do, that you know how to do, then it's fine. Then go ahead and do it. But you cannot just jump into the water, especially now when the competition is really high. Before, maybe, because again, it wasn't such a business oriented thing, Airbnb, but now it's 100% business. And Airbnb, again, it's one of the biggest platforms. It's not the only one. So that's kind of like the mistakes that I see. It's mostly people who think that it's very easy to see a nice house, it's probably going to work. The answer is not necessarily. A lot of the houses that we're selling, that we used to do Airbnb, because one of our um, plan is to buy a house for 5 years, then resell it for a profit, and then keep buying more. So some of the houses that've been through that cycle that we're putting on the market, people are asking me, they're coming to buy it for Airbnb. And the margin, the markup is so high right now that they will lose money. And I feel, I sit from the side and I feel bad for them. I'm like, come work with me. I'll find you something else. But again, they have a realtor. I'm not trying to take business from anybody else. It's just a shame because what's happening is that they come to our properties that already doing Airbnb, and then they're like, okay, so the numbers don't work. What's gonna happen? They're gonna go to a similar house that does not do Airbnb, because and then they're gonna say, okay, so probably here the numbers will work, but they don't know. So a lot of misknowledge and thinking about how easy it is, and I think just from that, like, really to start with someone. It's like when people want to start business, they tell you find a mentor, stuff like that. So I'm not necessarily say have a mentor for Airbnb, but find a company that you feel comfortable with to help you at the beginning, to make sure that you're doing everything properly, to make sure they're giving you a full analysis. Because the realtors that bring clients for Airbnb, 90% of them don't give them any analysis. They just say, "Oh, it's probably gonna do good because it's close to the beach. It's nice."
They're just trying to make their money.
Yeah. So that's from that perspective. And then I forgot your first question.
My first question was basically, what advice would you give to someone looking to break into the vacation rental or real
Okay,
estate investment space?
okay. So it does go back to kind of like with the mistakes, how to start. I really think that, well, first of all, the budget is completely different now. Back then, you had so many properties for between 400 to 700 that were doing very well. You cannot find them in Florida, at least now. There is no way you can find a really good house. And so a lot of people that still have that budget that they're thinking about, I'll put some money down and buy some property. So you really need to know your budget first, how much you can spend to have a successful Airbnb. Now, if someone would still want to buy around, let's say, $500,000 property, it's fine, but they're not going to make 10%. People are thinking they're going to make crazy amount cap rate. It's not going to happen. So I think it's really important to be realistic. By the way, one of the things that we're doing, if we're not buying cash, and that's super important advice, is that if you're putting money down, don't leverage yourself too much. A lot of people will buy with 20% down. We're buying at minimum 40% down. That's for us such a huge game changer, because when the market changes to the worse, we're still profitable. And market did change in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The ADRs are lower. The prices, were at a peak like 2 years ago. So it's just an example of some properties that people, if someone bought 2 years ago, the people that bought 2 years ago for 20% down, most likely are losing money right now in Airbnb. And if you're buying for 40%, you're either breaking even, you're profitable, maybe a little bit, but you're not losing. So that's really an advice that I suggest people, because again, going back to YouTube, you see so many people just talking about how to leverage your money to buy more and more property and become a multi-millionaire in real estate. And I suggest very strongly not to keep just taking all your money out and buy more and more properties. I'm not saying it's bad to buy more and more properties, but don't use all your money, because then if the market will change, you can lose everything, to the worst. I mean,
Yeah.
if it doesn't change and it goes up, yeah, but then it's a gamble, and I don't think you want to gamble with your life savings, you know.
No, all good stuff. And it is true about I know somebody who was, they owned some homes down in Florida and they were renting them out. And that's why I always would get nervous with Airbnbs. Like this one particular home, the kids were marker all over the whole wall. They broke the microwave, broke the refrigerator, broke the dishwasher, and then they leave. And it's like, well, the expense that it just cost you to repair everything. So these are all things that people have to, like I get what you're saying with the insurance and whatnot to really make it worthwhile. Yeah.
Well, when you do work with Airbnb, for example, they do have good, I guess, insurances for the homeowners as well. So if you do have damages, you can get money back.
Mhm.
We actually have a few mechanisms that we're trying to use to decrease those things as much as possible. So we are doing screening to people. You'll be surprised how many scams are renting properties. You have people who cannot rent properties and they're using fake IDs. You have a lot of stuff. Um, so again, that's another thing with experience that you have to know. But from that to have noise monitoring in the house, and now you also have like weed monitoring, like if people are smoking in your house, to control, for example, the AC, to see that people are not just putting it on 50 or whatever. We have cameras on the outside, so if we see a lot of cars, we do have 24/7 security. I think we're one of the only companies that have full-time security. We send someone right away to check what's going on. So usually if we see on the alert that there is noise, then we have, because we do have, like I said, 24/7 people, they're looking at the cameras. If they see a lot of cars, then it goes to the next day. And then they also contact the guest as well. And we tell them, you cannot party. And if we need to, we need to cancel it. We had one of our really nice homes. Someone rented it, and he actually made a flyer of an influencer free party in the house. And we found out because it came to the Facebook of the community like page, and we have friends in that community, so they contact us and they are like, that there is a party going on like tomorrow in your property or something like that. And you're freaking out when you see something like that. Like 200 people will destroy your house and then kick them out. So we actually contact the guest. We told him we're canceling his reservation. We also brought security to stay outside the whole time to make sure that nobody's getting into the house, because some people maybe will go from the flyer. You have and you have some stories like that. I don't know if you know much about Judaism, but like rabbis and stuff like that, they keep a Shabbat, right? Like they don't use electricity on a Saturday. Right. So I actually have is a close friend of mine. He's an investor and he's a rabbi from England, and he actually used his property in Hollywood once or twice a year for like a few weeks every time. and he happened to be here. And he's in the house. It's a Friday. It's a Friday day, and I get a call to my cell phone from a lady that is screaming at me. She's freaking out. She's like, "You're throwing parties to underage girls and stuff like that." I'm like, "Okay, let's first calm down. What property?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" And then apparently, someone took this house and did a flyer with some girls in thong dancing in or whatever on the flyer, and he sold it as a party for whatever, $10-15, I don't know. And that lady, her daughter, which is underage, her and her girlfriends paid for that party, and that's how I knew about it. So I told her, okay, man, first of all, there is a rabbi in the house apparently tomorrow, so I'm telling you there's not going to be any party tomorrow in that house. So that's why it was funny, because from the whole time in the year he was there, so I knew that there is no party going on.
Right.
But we brought security, we made sure, and I guess they found out that we know about it, so they canceled it. But you really need to be so hands-on with those things.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep telling people you cannot do it as a side hustle. It's going to take a lot of your time.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, you definitely are a good mentor. So anybody out there who's interested, look for him. So how can people learn more about you or get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing?
So we have, we're all over, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, but mostly the Facebook. So my personal name, of course, Alon Orbach. We also have the business page, which is DesignedVR Realty Invest. And in the Instagram, it's pretty much the same. So I have my personal page in Instagram, which is OrbachRealty, and also the DesignedVR page. And I'm really happy to help people also with that they will not make mistakes. I feel like that's, very important thing. And if business will come from it later, then it's a blessing.
Awesome. Yeah, because everybody's always out for themselves. So it's nice that you're willing to help other people, because all of this stuff that you're talking about, I honestly would have never even thought about half of this, but it makes 100% sense now that you're saying it.
Right. Yeah. Usually that's how it is, when after you hear it, you're like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have thought of it. Oh, well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Alon.
I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.